I do what I like. I do what I wanna do what I do what I wanna do what I want.
Welcome to Sports Trebuchet, issue number 23. I'm Marty.
I'm Kyle.
I'm Josh.
Follow us on social media at Sports Trebuchet on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at sportstrebuchetpod@gmail.com. Also, check out our podcast buddies over at Juicing the Numbers podcast. You'll hear more from them later. Let's get started. What I wanted to get into was Marty's Corner. It's me. So I had a challenge that I actually kind of tipped you off on, which is not, it's kind of against the rules, but I thought we could take an exercise I saw on Twitter and use it for the podcast. So I want to take a player from any sport or any league, but I guess that qualifies as the same thing, and guarantee his health for his entire career and see maybe the biggest ripple effect you can make out of it. So hypothetically, Ken Griffey Jr.'s incredibly healthy his full career.
That's a good
and
one.
What it does for the league. Who wants to go first?
I'll spit out one that I had said earlier when you brought this to me. RG3.
RG3 is an incredible.
I mean, took the league by storm. Led to what they were like 11-5 his first year. He played amazing, and then he got hurt, and he was never the same again.
He was. I feel like he was the closest comp to Patrick Mahomes before Patrick Mahomes. He had arm strength. He had speed.
You could say he's probably quicker than Mahomes.
He's definitely faster. He was like a Texas state champion in the 100, or a hurdler, like a hurdle state champion. Not hurling, like throwing up or throwing things. But the thing that makes it even more interesting to me about it is that offense, even kind of running at the same time Kaepernick doing his thing, they took the league by storm, and then when he got hurt, it was the lack of proof of concept because he got hurt, couldn't do it anymore, and it delayed the offenses we see now in the NFL for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And now the Rams and now everybody has RPOs and they're doing their thing. But
RPO. Can't wait to hear that again in a couple months.
RPO is going to be, it's like a drink. If it's a drinking game, you're dead. In college or in the pros now.
We got another one, though.
Do you think he wins a championship if he's healthy?
Not on the Redskins.
Ooh.
No, not on the Redskins, man. What do they never really put anything around him.
No,
they never put anything around Cousins.
But if he's going into his third year and he's killing it like he did his first year, maybe you have people lining up. Maybe.
I don't know if it's that. I mean, look at the receiver signings that they've made in the past. They've been terrible.
Yeah, this is a poorly run organization. It wasn't until this year they had a good draft.
Yeah.
And it was way before the RG3 that they had a good draft. Because RG3, they traded up their entire franchise, basically.
And they spent a ton of money on Terrell Pryor to be a receiver there.
Yeah.
He was a quarterback to begin with, right?
Yes,
right.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, and a pretty good one in college, too.
Yeah.
Really good.
And he had a really good year at Cleveland as a receiver.
I was going to say he went to Cleveland.
But he was never going to be a number one. And to spend the money on him, to bring him... Brandon Lloyd... I mean...
Oh, God. Did they bring in Stallworth right before he went to the Patriots? After he killed a guy? Maybe it was after the Patriots. Maybe it's another guy that was fast but couldn't catch.
It could have been several. Who knows?
Okay, I like that one. Here, let's keep going. Josh, what you got?
I'm struggling because there's not been a huge amount of like...
It's a cricket player. I'm going to shoot
watershed ones. So I was like looking for soccer ones, and like I was Googling them too, and the only one that really came up was George Best from way back in the day. So he was like a superstar player back in like 60s, 70s, I think. He retired at 26. Ooh. And like he was widely regarded as like one of the best ever.
That's a rough.
And he chose to, and now he's like a raging alcoholic. I don't know if he's still alive, actually.
Does he hang out with Maradona?
No. I would love to see them meet, though.
So much substance abuse.
Seriously. There was, and I can't remember which one it was. Was it him? There was a boxer that died in the ring.
Oof.
and it was in the 90s, and I can't remember who it was.
It wasn't Anthony Joshua.
No. It was
That was his
barely
career that
Bailey.
died in the ring.
God, who was it? Someone died in the 90s anyway. And it basically changed the sport. They took it down like 2 rounds. They did a lot of work on making it safe. And like, if you want to play it on a real dark tone, what if he didn't die? How long would it have took for them to get this, to redo it and make it safer?
Was he a big player in the boxing community?
No, but I think the person he fought was huge. I think it was like Bruno or Eubank or someone pretty major on the international heavyweight.
So does it
circuit,
Does it take like Floyd Mayweather breaking his neck and getting paralyzed like in $1 Million Baby for them to change the rules?
Possibly. My other one I had was in terms of retiring too soon, and I'm only mentioning it mainly because it came to my head from the Twitter conversation we had before the last episode, and it was Vitaly Klitschko, a boxer.
Who's the younger brother or the older brother?
I think he's the older brother of Vladimir. But looking back at fights, I genuinely believe Vitaly was the better boxer between the two of them. And he chose to go into politics instead, which was bizarre as it is.
He's fought in a different arena, as it were.
Yeah, and he did pretty well. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's still in it. He's still chilling. But he retired early from boxing, and he probably could have and he refused to fight Vladimir too. They refused to do the brother versus brother bit.
God, that would have been insane. Vitaly was the older brother, I just confirmed.
And it's pretty certain that he probably would have won that too. So, he could have ruled the heavyweight division if he wanted to.
Do you think by him doing that, it would also nuke his little brother's chances? Because
absolutely,
he's always
going to be second. Yeah,
that's a tough one though.
I got a question for you. What if? How much of a difference would this have made if Peter Cech didn't have the head injury?
That's a good one too. He probably would have been the highest paid goalkeeper of all time, would be my guess.
Do you think that his play would have changed quite dramatically? Or I know that he still had a great career.
I think his play changed dramatically after. So I think if he would have continued on the trajectory he was on, I think it'd have been the highest paid goalkeeper today.
And a little background information. He got his head injury in a match.
Yes.
Getting kneed in the head?
Yeah, he came out to get the ball, slid into the ball, and a lad called Stephen Hunt for Reading caught him with his knee on the back of his head, fractured his skull, and all that beautiful bit of brain bleed and all that sort of shit. So in order for him to continue playing, he had to wear the hat that everybody sees him in now. So.
Yeah, I don't know what his hair looks like. I've never seen it.
It's just regular hair.
Just regular hair.
Yeah, maybe it balded him a little bit.
But I mean, I guess that with him, he doesn't have the head injury. He might go on to be one of the greatest. He still is one of the greatest goalies. He's in that category. But I mean, just think about how good he could have been without that injury.
Yeah, I think he probably would have been
ahead of the keeper class.
Yeah, I think he would have.
I think. So I have one in particular that has a big butterfly effect, but the smaller one, it's not really that small. Derrick Rose.
I was going to bring him up.
In the NBA.
He was the Bulls player, right?
Yeah.
He was I knew his name, and I've never watched a basketball game. Because he was supposed to be the next big thing.
He won the MVP, and then he destroyed his knee.
And then just kept destroying it, right? Like it was the same injury that just kept recurring over and over again.
He rehabbed, then he came back this next season, and within a game or two, he had re-injured. He had re-torn something in his leg, and he couldn't come back. I mean, he even had this past year. He had a 50-point game for the Timberwolves
because he can shoot.
No, he can never be a great shooter.
I felt like he was the. No, I know he drove to the basket, but I felt like he had a pull-up game too.
Yeah, he played for a Cal Perry team. He can't shoot.
Just dribble, just dish and drive and dish.
He's a great one. I think that if he doesn't have that injury, he is just constantly going on. Like,
Yeah,
he's right there.
He's in the top 5 players right now playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe the East also doesn't fall apart in that way because you'd have a solid base there. LeBron was still doing his thing.
I think
Dwayne Wade was still doing his thing.
I think you have a great chance with him and Jimmy Butler when they were together
That'd
in
be
the
cool.
East. That would have been
What
fun.
if LeBron went to join them?
Possibly. I mean, Carmelo earlier in his career may have gone to Chicago.
God, that'd be so weird.
Yeah,
Seeing them in
there could have been a
Chicago colors.
huge ripple effect of that.
And I'm gonna go snake draft on this, and then we'll go around one more turn if you want.
Sure.
The other one that I liked, the first thing that came to my mind was Terrell Owens, the receiver. And the reason wasn't because he still had a fantastic career regardless, but it only affects one season. If he's always healthy, the NFL maybe never, or at least delays banning horse collar tackles because it was his injury that kicked off that conversation and they banned it the next year. Because it was Roy Williams, the Cowboys safety, that did it to him. That broke his leg by dragging him down by the back of his jersey. And then he's healthy against the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, which was their second.
It's their second in a row.
That was their second in a row.
The year before that, they beat the Panthers.
They beat the Rams in there somewhere, so this would have been their third
in 4 years.
as part of this. Okay, gotcha. So they would have won 2 in 4 years potentially if T.O.'s healthy, because he still balled out in that Super Bowl and he was coming off a broken leg and wasn't 100% and still had a great game. The Eagles potentially win, delaying the Patriots dynasty. And also maybe extending an Eagles dynasty that they were really, really good in those little years where it was Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens. You had that defense that had you had Brian Westbrook was the running back still.
You had Todd Pinkston. You had Freddie Mitchell.
God, Todd Pinkston. Oh my God. And then your defense was a blitzing mess, but you had
Hugh Douglas, I think, was still on that
Douglas
team.
was there, the safety that I can't remember his
Brian
name.
Dawkins.
Yeah, Brian Dawkins was there.
Yeah. Troy Vincent was still there.
And at that point, that maybe prevents...
Jeremiah Trotter.
God damn. Those are great names. You maybe prevent the Giants from ever winning one because you're running that division. And maybe force Coughlin out or something. The Cowboys were still a mess because I think Romo had just started around that time. Or maybe not even yet. It might have still been Bledsoe.
Yeah, that was like 04.
Yeah.
So we're still in the Quincy Carter years. Injury that kind of changed the game, not so much for this guy's career, but changed the game, was Tom Brady going out. That started the you can't go low on a quarterback.
Yeah.
Because they rolled up on him.
Meanwhile, Carson Palmer's getting like his leg destroyed by the goddamn Steelers.
Every
but
year.
No one cares. He's just getting rolled up on by 2 people.
Second Tom Brady goes out, they decide to institute a rule where you can't go low. That starts the whole roughing the passer nonsense that we're now in, where you have to hit a quarterback in like a...
Got to make sure there's not a rough breeze going by.
Well, and Matt Castle never has the year he has, so
he never gets the contract from Kansas City.
And perhaps Belichick's what's-his-face that went to the Broncos as a coach, that coached Tebow. Maybe he doesn't get a job
Josh
because
McDaniels,
Josh McDaniels doesn't go and get a head coaching job immediately because the proof of concept of nobody, doesn't matter who's throwing the ball, they're going to win 11 games in this system. God, that's a good one. But I wish the opposite, that he was always hurt.
Yeah, that would be kind of
Brady
wonderful.
was always hurt.
Changing a little bit, Owen Hart.
Ooh.
I was wondering if anyone was going to bring that up.
I didn't even think about factoring wrestlers in.
Because I was going to go the Benoit route. But I'm not going to.
See, I feel like he was kind of nearing the end of his career, or in the latter half of his career.
In terms of the ripple-on effect, like, how long until they acknowledge the CTE stuff?
Well, yeah, and if he's perfectly healthy, everything's the same because he really didn't miss anything due to injury, but he had the CTE thing going on, so potentially he's not getting CTE and doesn't. What did he do again?
But Owen is a better one, I think, because he wasn't anywhere near retiring.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think that he could have been on the verge of a great push. Another injury in that realm, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle's a good one.
He wrestled his last couple of years in the WWE with serious neck injuries. Serious.
What about
all of the injuries?
Yeah. I mean, what about Triple H? Because he came back as a huge face, right? After that big injury, was it his quads when he blew him?
One of the times he blew his quad.
Yeah. Well, there's one time, and he was gone for a while, almost a year, right?
Came back in 2000.
Face.
Yeah, 2002.
And had that not happened, potentially, his career doesn't end up the way it is.
No, he was still in a huge push. He would have been part of the invasion at that point, too. He had already won championships beforehand. He was already part of the...
But he wasn't the game until he came back, was he?
He was already the game.
So it would have definitely changed the game.
It would have changed the game.
Edge tore his Achilles in that house show and was out off TV for almost 15 months and then came back and went from being second to Christian to Edge with the Edgeheads, Vicky Guerrero facing Undertaker at WrestleMania, the Edge that we all remember.
And then the neck thing
dickhead. And then the retirement after that. I didn't even think about the fact that he retired super early.
Yeah. It was kind of going back to the CTE kind of deal. Chris Nowitzki, remember him? It was like in 2004. He was the kid from Harvard that he would always come out like he had like the big H on his trunks. He was kind of promoting that he got an injury and he was a head injury and the doctors told him no, you can't go anymore. He's the one that's been spurring on a lot of the CTE conversations from there in the concussion protocol conversation because he actually is a Harvard grad and he spoke a lot on ESPN after that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, how about old boy the D-Lo paralyzed?
Droz?
Who was supposed to get like a major push. Like they were really, really high on him.
Yeah. You can.
Any wrestling injury.
I've got one more for me for sports. What if Emiliano Sala didn't get on that shitty plane, survived, and went on to play for Cardiff for the last half of last season?
Does Cardiff get relegated?
Do Cardiff get the 2 to 3 points they needed to stay up? Who is it at the expense of? Because that then changes every game they play.
Yeah.
Because that could... Fine, you could say, like, well, that's Brighton gone. But if we... Like, it could change the way we play against them. It could change the way they play against other teams. Like, it would change the entire...
I guess when Cardiff was playing the way they were playing, anybody can help. But what was the scout on him? On Salah?
He's a decent player. He had played for FC Nantes in the French main division, like the top division. He played 120 games, 42 goals, and was generally seen by all the analysts who were big on European football, which I am not, but the ones who are paid to be, all thought it was a very good signing. Like it would
relative to Cardiff?
As relative to Cardiff, yeah. It was their club record signing. It wasn't like a half-assed, hopeful punt. Like, this was one that they put there. They pinned their hat, like, they pinned their mask to, but...
Mast is kind of a weird word, I feel like, because...
he wasn't on a boat.
He probably would have been better off if he had been.
Yeah.
It would have been that would be an interesting one.
Yeah, if he stays up, does Cardiff stay up?
Yeah. Or, if he goes there, do they sink without a trace, because... a lot of people note the fact that they did get...
Without a trace, you just nailed it. God almighty.
I'm doing them unconsciously too. But, like, if he goes and he isn't that good, do they get relegated faster than Fulham do? Is that something that then gives Fulham a chance to survive? Because Cardiff are just trash and they don't get that morale bounce back of we're going to do it for him. Because that was also a big part of their resurgence in the second half of the year, was them saying we're going to do it for Salah. Like, are they just crap? And they're
crap. Just shit, right?
Yeah.
They fall down. They
crash
down the table.
Yeah, I keep wanting to make things like that, and then I realise I'm being mean. But I think that would be an interesting one, especially because it was just this year, and there's £200+ million at stake every time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
Kyle, you had one more?
Just one more wrestling-wise. Paige.
She would definitely add to what's going on now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how long would she have gone,
Because she's 23 now? 24?
24, 25.
Surprised Josh didn't say Alexa.
Why would I say Alexa?
Has she been a champion for the last year and a half if she doesn't get hurt?
Hi, my name is Joshua Tracy.
And I am Corwin Heller.
And we are the hosts of a statistics and sports podcast called Juicing the Numbers.
We cover the NFL, college football, MLB, and the NHL with anything that we like to talk about in between.
If you like sports and the numbers behind it, come check out our show, Juicing the Numbers, on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you find podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at JuicingPod.
So last week it was announced that Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff were going to be the executive producers for Raw and SmackDown respectively, and they started this week. We both watched every second, I think, of Raw and SmackDown, right? Just about. I mean,
I fast forwarded through some stuff.
Yeah,
but
middle of matches sometimes.
Yeah.
Natty and Lacey definitely fast forwarded through that one.
Yeah.
What did we think? Have we noticed a difference?
I mean, I read something where there wasn't much influence by Heyman on Raw, but it felt like there was between the giant explosion at the starting, which felt like it had his handprints all over it.
Yeah, the way too many fireworks. They just kept going and going.
Pyromaniac.
Wasn't expecting it, so that was fun. The Mike Kanellis and Maria Kanellis deal, didn't see that coming.
Yeah. The cuck of all cucks.
Yeah. Thought that they handled...
Cuck Kanellis.
I thought that they handled the whole storyline of the club all the way through the entire night. That went really, really well.
It went really well, but they planted that seed last week before then, too.
Sure.
Like you had Ricochet, you had AJ yelling at the boys because he wanted to focus on it. And I thought that the way it was going, because they had that long thread, that the swerve was going to be AJ and Ricochet team up. Because he's turning on the good, before they even get a chance to form. But besides that storyline aspect of it, the way it was produced, like you said, planted throughout the night, was perfect. It's like, that's what the old Raws were missing, right?
Yeah.
The old Raws didn't have match quality. They didn't even have particularly good storylines, but they always had a theme for an episode, or for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Where it was like, cool, Rock's hunting down Stone Cold, or whatever. And so for 3 weeks, every Monday night, you see him at a gas station looking for him, or at a bridge looking for him, or, whatever.
There was a beginning, middle, and end, and it was something that they'd follow back up with within the night, which it felt right. It felt better. It just
Which when they had the initial part of the brand split, the newest brand split, they did that with absolute top class execution on SmackDown.
Yeah,
they had a running theme all night. And then, if they could blow it off on Talking Smack, they would even do it then. Like, they executed it to absolute perfection.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, in some ways, that we'll touch on it maybe 2 weeks from now. We have Bobby coming back for a special episode in 2 weeks. But after kind of a month and after a pay-per-view, it'll be interesting to see if anything's changed. But I think that something's going to, purely on the fact that if Vince is pouring himself into the XFL, he's only going to have so much time.
There might be a blessing in disguise with him doing that.
I think it will be for both parties. I think XFL maybe benefits from it, honestly.
From that startup kind of feel?
Yeah, and then I think that WWE does it. And a lot of people were upset that Trips wasn't one of those people.
He's got his hands full with NXT.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd rather have him focused on NXT UK. I think he's got 205 Live now. He's responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
And let him keep doing what he's doing. Playboy, make that money. And at some point, he'll be able to come up. And it always allows for the invasion possibility.
I'm
You know that you got to plan it.
I'm sure I don't think he wants to leave NXT. I think if he was given, like, hey, you've got full creative control over Raw or SmackDown, or you can keep NXT, I think he'd want to keep it. Because of one of those things being the fact that he probably has an entire Invasion storyline in his head.
Yeah.
And he's basically being able to run it without...
And Vince doesn't even know what's going on.
Exactly.
I can guarantee you Vince doesn't know 50% of the roster on NXT.
Yeah.
I think he's made, in the last year and a half or so, some really good hires, though, that would allow him not to have to. And even so much as, like, I think at some point they're going to buy up Evolve to have Gabe Sapolsky, because Gabe Sapolsky's apparently just a really great mind for the business.
Okay. I mean, they already do, don't they, low-key? Like, they already, essentially...
They run everything... Well, I mean, they have a partnership. That's why everybody that wrestles at a big event at Evolve usually ends up getting signed within 6 months.
Yeah.
It was the documentary I was watching on Vice. It was like the future of wrestling or whatever. Half the card is going to be on that. Was in that NXT tournament. The one that they hadn't made the air yet, like Shane Strickland, ACH, all those guys. Matt Riddle was wrestling for Evolve. Gargano was wrestling for Evolve before he got signed. And Ciampa, Drew McIntyre, all of them were hitting Evolve. So they're already kind of the feeder to NXT, anyways.
Mm-hmm. Pete Dunne, I think, was on Evolve for a bit.
No, there's no doubt he was, because he was everywhere.
Yeah,
he still does progress, I think, too, right? Like he still does some Euro.
A lot of the NXT UK dudes show up at very small shows in the UK and Europe. Like they still do all that shit. The WWE seems to really not be that bothered, because what competition are a UK show?
I think it's Triple H. Yeah, I think that he's kind of not totally upset with that kind of deal.
You don't have a TV deal in the UK. You can't honestly expect to sign people and have them be exclusive to your brand that is only available on an app when they're still not going to be getting. But we all know they're not going to get paid a certain amount. Mm-hmm. But it's probably a pretty great payday for those dudes that can then go work at ICW, Progress, all across Europe.
And it's not like they have the performance center like they have down in Orlando, where these guys are basically on like a college campus,
Yeah, exactly.
Where you would kind of say, you're going to be exclusive to us, but this is the perks. You're going to be in this area. You're going to be performing at the same arena. It's basically wrestling college,
right? And it helps that it's in England too, honestly, or the UK in general, because it is small enough so that those guys can wrestle for one and drive 3 hours to a completely different promotion that's not as different as if you did the Charlotte promotion and drove and went to a DC promotion. Because I'm sure those are vastly different. America's indies are fucking... They hit the entire spectrum of just deathmatch to...
Yeah.
Shakara.
I mean, the UK is no different, though. Like, the UK wrestling scene is we're seeing the beginnings of it now, coming through.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get bigger, because...
I'm excited. We'll all keep tabs on it anyways, but...
I think that we're going to have to wait a month, 2 months, to see if we really do start to see, I think
it'll be after SummerSlam. If there's anything, because it would be... For them to... I think he's letting them hold onto the steering wheel, and he's in the passenger seat. Vince is in this situation with one of those steering wheels like they have in the driver's cars.
Oh, sorry, they're in driver's ed.
Yeah, driver's ed cars that there's 2 steering wheels, 2 sets of brakes, and all of it. I think he's in that seat until SummerSlam to see if they know what they're doing,
and he's got an idea of where they need to get, where he wants to go for SummerSlam, and after that, exactly, the reins and.
Or until the Brock cash in is where I think Vince has got an idea. Maybe.
That might be in October.
SummerSlam seems like the time.
To me, I feel like that Fox. That's like the perfect. I heard a rumor also that they're trying to get The Rock to come back for that night too. For the first Fox.
That'd be easy. That'd be an easy get. He'll just walk through and then slut shame everybody, because that's what he does. And then slut shame Mandy.
Yeah.
Carmella for sure.
You all right.
Rusev a jabroni. He doesn't even work there anymore, but
and they'll love it anyway, so.
Yeah, and they'll get eaten up. Alright, we're gonna say fuck NASA, and we're gonna go to the NBA.
Sounds good.
So, there's three things. NBA free agency that has started, the NBA draft that's finished since the last time we spoke, and then the NBA awards, the yearly awards that got handed out. Let's start with the awards.
Okay.
Yeah. The biggest question I had for you, going over just three awards here, because the six-man award doesn't matter to anybody. Truly.
Lou Williams.
Although, how great is it that the first and second place votes for the six-man award were on the same team?
Was it Lou Williams?
Lou Williams and Montrez.
Oh, Harrell.
Yeah, but they both played for the same team, so someone had to be the seventh man.
What's the award about?
So the six-man...
Best player off the bench.
Yeah, best player off the bench, basically.
You have a subs award? Jesus Christ.
Well, some of these guys play more minutes than the starters. They come in and they... that's...
And some of these guys that are on the bench, too, are...
Good
on the last leg, that's how they're keeping their legs. Like the way you're fine with Murray playing if he's coming in maybe in the 70th minute, but he shouldn't be playing an entire match. Similar to if you have an NBA player that's, let's say, Pau Gasol, who's probably still starting for the Spurs, but
I don't think he even played last year.
If he's on the bench, you have experience to come off.
Right.
All right. So the three awards: the NBA Most Valuable Player, the NBA Rookie of the Year, and the NBA Most Improved Player. We have, the MVP is Giannis and
Antetokounmpo.
That's a tough one. We should have had Josh read these.
Yeah, it's Giannis.
Giannis.
Greek freak.
So he's Greek. Good point. And then the Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic, who's Slovenian. And then Pascal Siakam, who is
Cameroonian.
Cameroonese. Isn't that what they have at Duke?
Cameroonese.
Well, those are the Cameroonians.
Is it Cameroon?
Cameroonian.
Sure.
For all of the talent in the US, how have they just got three totally random small country internationals?
That's what I wanted to talk
about.
They're
big team players.
I know what your answer is going to be, but give me a reason why it's good that foreign players won all those three titles. Those three.
Why is it good? It means that the game is becoming more global. The NBA has done a wonderful job of marketing the game to many different countries. They'll go over in the preseason, play a game in China. They'll go over and play in Europe. They are great ambassadors of the game.
Do they have any... so the NFL plays in London. Baseball are doing them in London now. Do the NBA have any?
Not so much during the season, but they do. Okay. But they do like preseason tours where they go over and they'll have like a couple teams and they'll go play in like Italy. Or
the same way
that
we've got Arsenal and Fiorentina here.
Yeah. They do the same thing.
That makes sense.
And also, it doesn't hurt that for some reason, Eastern Europe really gravitated towards basketball a long while ago, in the 90s, the early 90s.
Probably because it's cold and...
Maybe?
Cold and it's indoor?
Well, and they also had a guy that...
I don't know, they've been into a lot there. They like their football too.
Is it also the...
Basketball is just...
There's just nothing else, right? There's not
handball.
There's not MLB.
They love handball.
Do you think that's like that might be part? It's another sport that uses your hands. I don't know. It's
I don't know.
They also did have a star in the early '90s who sadly passed away, in Drazen Petrovic, who was
all of Eastern Europe had a star.
No, but he was an Eastern European star.
Gotcha.
He came over and he showed that somebody can come over and really play very well.
First time I heard of him.
Really, it was a Nets player. He died in the early '90s. He was actually Vlade Divac's best friend.
Oh shit!
But they were on different sides of the Yugoslavian war.
Well,
brilliant.
And what you mentioned about how good they are on the foreign side, they're also really good at home. If they sign Giannis, right, a Greek dude, they're 100% marketing to the Greek people, and they're selling merchandise that has Greek shit in it, not unlike the way the Rockets did with Yao Ming. When Yao Ming came over, he was Chinese, and everybody in China was a fucking Rockets fan. And it didn't hurt that their main color was red. Mm-hmm. And... up until, I think, next season, they've had a jersey, like an alternative jersey they wear like 2-3 times a year that was in Chinese that had like basically all the whole thing. And they do the Mexican, like the Latino, Central American night where they're all wearing Spurs, but it's like Los Spurs or Los Mavs or whatever, and it's got like the whole thing.
Who wants to bet that now, since Rui Hachimura was drafted by DC,
The Japanese guy, right?
Yeah, the Japanese Beninese, I think. He's a Beninese Japanese kid that played for Gonzaga. He was the 9th overall pick to the Washington DC to the Washington Wizards. So he's going to bet that that jersey sells a ton over in Japan.
Oh yeah, it's gonna crush.
So I guess Yugoslavia were very big on their basketball. For some reason, were a major basketballing nation, and all the ones that now love basketball, like Croatia, Slovenia, Estonia, all that sort of stuff, were either in the Yugoslavian conglomerate or around them. And they all, even though they're not very good now, like they're still churning out the odd very, very good player.
It's a culture now. It's been 30 years,
and
right?
it's been their culture for a while.
Yeah.
And with the NBA becoming easier and easier to get a hold of with the TVs and the internets and all that sort of shit.
The internets,
yeah. And them being able to have access to it is a big one.
Yeah.
So, more kids want to play it seriously.
And not to
now
mention,
they have a pathway too.
And a lot of NBA teams hire foreign scouts, and what they'll do is that they will draft players and stash them in Europe. Like they'll draft the rights to a European player, let them still play on their team.
That's what they did with Rubio, wasn't it? When Rubio first got drafted,
Maybe.
Or was it? It was another Spanish.
They've done it with a lot of people.
Yeah.
They'll stash them over there, and then they'll when they feel like they're ready, they'll bring them over, and they have the rights to them already.
Yeah.
It may have happened to Gasol, honestly. Mark Gasol.
Do they have any specific feeder teams over there?
No, they will. They look at leagues more than anything. I think that the Greek league is pretty high. Obviously, La Liga is big. I think the Turkish league is pretty good.
Turkish, Greek, all that area are big on the basketball. So.
But you also have a lot of college players from here that if they don't make it in the NBA, they'll go overseas and play.
Yeah,
because they can make a good living doing it.
How much can you attribute this to Pop?
Greg Popovich? I think it happened before him.
Him and Donnie Nelson embraced
They embraced it, but I mean, it was going on beforehand. Arvydas Sabonis.
But the more successful a foreign player was, the more likely the teams were going to try a foreign player, I feel like. Like, I know Vlade was there, and Dirk, and
Detlef Schrempf, Arvydas Sabonis. I mean...
It just seems like there's been an influx in the last 5 years, and maybe that goes to what he's saying, is that those guys entering now, like Luka, grew up probably being able to at least catch a couple basketball games a year over in Slovenia.
Easily.
Well, because
and not to mention he was in the Barcelona camp, so he was
right.
It's their academy for basketball. So I mean, he was starting. He was the MVP of the league when he was 16. something insane like that.
I mean, it makes sense when you see how he plays now, though.
Yeah, he's a man out there. He's been playing against men.
Right.
But
I think that does do something different to a player in any sport.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why a lot of the players, like Harry Kane, went out on loan to like Millwall and played against men at 17, 18, and now he came in and is just banging in the goals, obviously, and has been for a couple of years.
It'd be interesting. I want to have an episode where we do talk about like the AAU stuff and like the impact that shit can have, because I think it's really fascinating how it could also ruin players, probably too. But when it sharpens it, it really sharpens it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that at the heart of it, the NBA is easily the best marketed brand, I think, out there globally as far as U.S. sports.
It's the second best. Ooh, God.
You think?
I think it's better marketed than the NFL outside of the borders.
Do you think it's better marketed worldwide then, I guess?
Yeah.
I think it's probably the third most played sport in the world behind
the NFL
cricket and
marketing,
football.
You think?
I think the ease, it's so
You think
easy.
cricket is number 2? I would
I was totally taking a guess, but I'm guessing pure numbers, and that's India for you.
But they have a lot of very big countries, actually. Australia as well.
I just think that like basketball in general, also when you're thinking about like how they've marketed the league, because the league is very healthy right now, extremely healthy. They have multiple stars, and they've had stars for the last 20 years, really. Like really easily marketable stars that you can put out to the world. A LeBron, people like that, but they also don't have the warts that like a league like the NFL has. Like where the NFL has failed at like taking like a problem and not putting a good spin on it, like the NBA. NBA has. Let's take the anthem.
Was their last big wart the Mouse at the Palace that we covered in that earlier issue?
That was a pretty big wart. I can't think of anything right now, but I mean, let's look at like the anthem deal. You know, you had the league office trying to throw down rules on what they have to do down to the players. The players were bucking back on it. You had the president getting involved with it. The NBA, you never heard anything about it because the NBA was just like the NBA gave their players the ability to say if this is what if they stand behind their players.
That might also be a small factor in that no one was waiting all day for Sunday night. You know what I mean? Like no one was sitting there. There's always primetime basketball games, but it wasn't like you're waiting a week before your team plays or maybe 2 weeks when they have a bye. That might have also had a small. But I agree. They let their players be players.
They let them say their piece. And
if you're a fan of unions, the NBA is the league for you because they let them actually make their money, do their job, and everything.
That's another huge thing is that the NBA union is the strongest union out there.
Yes.
It is.
So I did some Googling, and the most played and the most popular are different, very different.
Most played, most popular sport?
Yes.
Okay.
But
we'll go to the NBA draft.
One of them goes for the estimated global following, and one of them goes for the amount of federations that amount of registered clubs that play these sports.
Okay.
So for the ones that have the most clubs, soccer is obviously number one.
Yeah. Every town in Europe.
Number two is badminton.
Really?
Yeah. It is one of the most popular sports in Asia. And with that many people, it's played regularly on an association level by 220 million people around the world.
Fuck.
And you know what's third? This is even weirder. Field hockey. It's third.
Where do you get this list from? Is it from jihadwatch.com?
It's not. Played by over 100 countries on 5 continents.
What the fuck? So which continent is not participating? Antarctica?
North America.
Basketball is number 5.
And this is estimated playing.
Playing, yeah.
Okay, so
because when you go to
team size may factor. Well, not badminton, but badminton's too.
When you go to
their rosters go 30 deep, bro.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if that is skewing it because you only need 2.
Yeah.
At most. Most popular sports for following is football, then cricket, then field hockey again. I don't know when the fuck field hockey got so popular.
The fact that I had 1 and 2, I'm ecstatic.
There you go.
Basketball is number 7 globally. 825 million viewers per season.
Nice.
Baseball behind it with 500, then rugby and golf. Table tennis number 6. 875 million as opposed to basketball's 825.
I'm going to be careful with what I say, but there's a part of the world that really skews those numbers, I feel like.
Well, there is. That's why there's 2.5 billion in cricket, and there's like 1 billion people in India and Pakistan who will watch it. Like,
there you go.
That's just the facts. Like, and a lot of Asia is very much into the cricket too, and a lot of those are very big countries with lots of people watching it.
Kyle, we'll touch on the draft just a little bit because you did a little preview for us last episode, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any signings that were a surprise or that baffled you in any way?
A little bit. Number 5 overall, Cleveland. Even though I thought he was going to be a high pick, Darius Garland. I don't think he makes much sense in Cleveland since they drafted a point guard last year. So to have 2 point guards and as your first pick the last 2 years, I don't know what that really means for the team. It doesn't make much sense. Minnesota went out and got Jarrett Culver, which I like the pick. Kind of offsets the whole, Jimmy Butler left thing, but they're also in need of a point guard.
Yeah.
Kobe White was right there for them. They didn't take him. They needed a point guard. I love the fact that Atlanta got DeAndre Hunter because once again, I think he's going to be one of the, if not the best player in this draft. He's going to be one of the top. He's going to be a top 3 player.
Was DeAndre Hunter the guy you said that was incredible on defense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
UVA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a little surprised. One of my sleepers, Cam Johnson went number 11 to Phoenix. I think that's a bit of an overdraft.
Because you were expecting him late first, right?
I was expecting him late first, early second. There's nothing that really, especially since he was a senior,
Yeah.
Dude can shoot. There's no doubt about it. Just didn't see him going that high. Charlotte getting PJ Washington, I think that's a good pick. It's a safe pick, I think.
At this point, is anybody coming to Charlotte good news for Charlotte because they can't get?
They're going to be shit next year.
They're going to be awful.
They're going to be shit, but I think it's a good thing.
Well, they lost their best player, didn't they?
Yes.
What's his name?
Kemba Walker. But if they had re-signed him, they would have been subjugating themselves to 5 more years of chasing a 7 or 8 seed. They wouldn't have had any money to sign anybody else. This at least gives them money going forward and a young core where they can kind of restart, maybe get a good draft pick next year.
He'll be just good enough to get 9th place in the East.
I already said that, watch, Nick Batum is going to come out and have a career year, and they're going to win 36 games and get the 11th pick again.
Yeah, and then, it'll
be terrible.
And then overdraft somebody.
Yeah. Stupid. I think that New Orleans had a wonderful draft.
Their team is average age is like 21 now.
Well,
like their starting 5 estimated before JJ got signed there.
Yeah. Boosted it up to 85. But I thought that New Orleans had a wonderful draft. I think that they're going to surprise some people this year because even though they're super young, I think they have a ton of talent now. Between Zion, they drafted Jackson Hayes, the center out of Texas, after trading down because they had the 4th overall pick from the Lakers, and instead they knew that Atlanta wanted DeAndre Hunter. They said, okay. They got that pick and they got the 17th pick from it. So they drafted Nickeil Alexander-Walker from Virginia Tech with that pick. They got a lot of guys, and that to go along with Brandon Ingram and even though Lonzo Ball and Josh Hart and Drew Holiday, who's still there, and then signing JJ Redick. I think that they're going to be an interesting team going forward. The other guy that I had earmarked as the 2 other guys that I had earmarked as sleepers, one was Grant Williams. He actually went in 22 to Boston. I think he kind of fits perfectly there with everybody else at 6'7". They're going to be completely positionless there, but I think they needed big guys, especially after with him being 240. I think that you should be able to throw his weight around there and do something. And also Bol.
He slid very, very far.
He fell to 44 to Denver.
He was supposed to be top 15, but he's an injury. Yeah, he had an injury in college.
Bad injury. And, once again, tall people, when you have those kind of injuries to feet and ankles and legs, they tend to linger. You don't have much weight to you.
I feel Carl's saying this very smugly.
Because he's short?
Yeah.
No. No, it's just he's 7'2", 210 pounds.
Yeah, and he is a stick. Like
I've seen the pictures.
He's a chicken leg dude. So it doesn't.
I don't think him and Peter Crouch. Who's skinny? I don't know.
Yeah, but Peter Crouch is at 7'2".
He's like 6'10".
Is he that tall?
He's maybe not. Let me have a look. He's incredibly tall for a footballer.
He's like 6'6".
While he looks,
6'7", something like that.
while he looks, let's kick off free agency.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start. Let's answer some of these questions we got from. I'm not sure if he even listens, but he works with us. Ty from Charlotte.
6'8".
Tall dude. Did you look at your football manager?
No, I just googled it.
Oh. First thing he asked was, do you think the Nets... You know what? I'm going to save that one for once we talk more free agency. But let's go the first one. Does Malcolm Brogdon blossom into a franchise cornerstone in Indiana?
So Malcolm Brogdon, he was signed as a restricted free agent.
Was he with Indiana before?
No, he was with the Bucks.
Okay.
He was with the Bucks, and he signed a deal. Let's see, how much was it? 4-year, $85 million contract with Indiana.
So I hope he is.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the other thing is that there's a ton of money being thrown around because the cap space has gone up.
Is it still like that 13% rate every year? Because it was wild for like 2 or 3 years.
It's something insane. It's something insane. And it just keeps on going up because they have to take like the average amount of like the average contract and average that out, and it's
strong unions.
Yeah. It's exactly. Now, does he blossom into a franchise player? I think that he's going to be a great number 2 on that team to Victor Oladipo. Oladipo, I think, is going to be your franchise player there. And Oladipo was well on his way last year before he got hurt. He was having a great year. But I think that Brogdon, bringing him in, he's a steady hand at point. He's a big point guard, like 6'5". Another UVA kid.
And he's a defender.
Right? He's a really good defender, and I think that this gives Indiana the best defensive backcourt in the league. Now, what is going to hurt them is losing Bojan Bogdanovic. A guy can shoot, and he signed a 4-year, $73 million contract with Utah. Brogdon, I'm not totally sure how great his shooting is. If I remember from college, he was a serviceable shooter. Oladipo's not a great shooter. And then you have 2 big guys in Miles Turner and Sabonis, Arvydas Sabonis' son. That'll get a bulk of the playing time.
Do you think that
They lost Terry.
because he's in the
Terry
East,
too.
and the East is largely the worst conference, that his signing in Indiana allows him to maybe even guarantee the Pacers a playoff spot for the next few years?
They already were.
Where in the West, his signing wouldn't be as big of a deal?
I think his signing in the West could have pushed some teams over the edge. I think that he would have been a perfect signing for Dallas.
Yeah.
To give
That's
you.
what everybody was saying.
It would have Malcolm Brogdon. He's
Is he white?
Nope. He's
There you go,
mixed.
the first name was a
Mixed.
pretty good indicator, though.
He's a mixed kid, I think. Very light skinned black guy. I feel,
Well,
but
Not that it matters.
No, but I mean-
It clearly does, because it's Dallas.
Dallas likes to, that's true.
they only like European players.
He was too,
Apparently.
his skin was just too dark for Dallas. to really
Also,
get
Malcolm
involved.
in the middle.
I don't.
I'm just gonna lay out. I couldn't even.
I don't know where to go from that.
He said, I should have known that he wasn't white by the first name Malcolm.
Oh, okay.
Malcolm in the middle was not a black lad.
Well, I can't argue that logic,
That's-
honestly.
that's
That's a very
fair.
solid point. And he's probably the most famous, definitely the most famous Malcolm of all time. Not Malcolm X. as most would lead you to believe. Who do you suppose he was named
How are we ever
after?
going to get out of this? So, do I think to answer the question, do I think he's going to be a franchise player? I think he's going to be a very, very good player for them. I think that they still kind of slot in at that 6 through 4 spot in the East.
That's where the Indiana Pacers sound like they should be, no matter what their team is.
Yeah.
Is the 5th seed. They should always be a 5th seed.
Yeah, and they're a dangerous 5th seed. Nobody wants to play them.
Especially when Dunleavy was there. So building on that, do you want to start listing off some of the signings? And we'll stop.
Sure. Let's start off with the two big ones. Let's go to Brooklyn.
Kyrie and KD.
Yeah, both
Brooklyn.
4-year deals. KD a 4-year $164 million, and Kyrie a 4-year $142 million.
Kyrie's an awesome signing. Kevin Durant's an awesome signing, pending that he comes back normal.
Is Kyrie an awesome signing?
I think he's still a top 6 point. I think he's a top 10. I think he's probably a top 6 point guard in the East.
Oh,
And this is for anyone who is yelling at the radio, listening, or whatever they listen to us on. I haven't watched the NBA consistently. And when did the Mavs win?
2011.
Since 2013.
Okay.
When we kept holding out for another free agent and it just kept not happening.
Well, that's still going on.
Yeah, it turns out nothing's changed. But so there's been a lot of turnover. But Kyrie, I always thought Kyrie was great to watch.
Sure.
A really great player. Subject to mistakes, like any of us, but he had handles that nothing else. He was as a fan of the And One mixtape tour, I was a big fan of Kyrie because he could dribble his ass off.
So, here's my thing with Kyrie. He pitched a shit fit when he was in Cleveland because he wasn't the guy because LeBron was there, so he wanted to leave Cleveland and be the guy. He went to Boston last year and was the guy. Or the year before, but he was hurt. But last year he got to play and he was the guy. And halfway through the season he apologized for handling it the way he did. Realized that he should never be the guy because he's not the guy. He needs somebody to rein him in and be the number one man on the team. KD can be that guy. Problem is, KD and Kyrie are both batshit crazy.
You think Kevin Durant's crazy?
He has burner accounts on Twitter so he can
It was Instagram, I think, wasn't it?
it's either Twitter or Instagram so he can monitor people hating on him and try to give them counterpoints.
He also can't play for a year, so maybe they need to just get him into therapy or something for a year.
Behind every genius, they say, are insecurities. So perhaps Kanye's a good example.
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare's an even better example. Perhaps Kevin Durant's he's actually a genius, and it's actually
Freddie Mercury.
Maybe Kevin Durant is actually I'm not actually mad online.
Michael Jackson.
Oof, it's a tough way to end it. Maybe he's just Maybe he's just insecure and. No, I'm not mad online. You're mad online. But
I don't know. My views of Kevin Durant is that he's slipping into insanity in the last couple of years. I don't know.
That's sad.
He's
still insanely good.
Oh, he is. He's super, super good.
Part of the problem.
And
he's just so insane everywhere.
Yeah, it's just.
But the thing is that you need him to be the rock for Kyrie Irving to latch onto.
Yeah, but
and maybe DeAndre Jordan can be the
not the third rock from the sun because Kyrie does not believe that the Earth is round.
Oh God, there's that too.
Who doesn't believe that?
Kyrie Irving. He's a flat earther.
I wonder if I could get him to sponsor my Flat Earth FC run in Football Manager.
Potentially.
Probably.
I bet he supports them.
They're going to be a big player. We're going to do a follow-up next season on every Flat Earth game and see how they're faring in the fourth tier.
We are going to be the official podcast of Flat Earth FC.
Oh Jesus!
And their fourth division campaign.
Got to change our branding.
So bad shit. But I do think that these kind of signings do let the Nets move up into that top 4 echelon. Even this year, I think they're going to be a middle of the playoff team with Kyrie because you do have DeAndre Jordan. You do have Garrett Temple coming in, who's a nice piece. You got
Dudley just left. I think Jared Dudley's there, isn't he?
Is he still in the league?
He got sent to the Lakers.
Through a table.
Based off of it should get sent through a table. It works on so many levels.
And they still have like Karis LeVert. They've got players there. Spencer Dinwiddie's still there. They've got players. They should be fine.
Who do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think's? So you think both of those in a vacuum are good signings together? It might not be great.
I think that people are calling for championship right now, and I say pump the brakes. I want to see what KD comes back as. I want to see what he looks like when he is the number one man, because he was even though he was one of the best players on that team in Golden State, he wasn't the number one guy. The guy that they go to for questions and answers was Steph Curry.
Yeah.
That was his team. It always was his team. It was his team in Oklahoma City, and they looked good, but he was very quiet. He doesn't like the media so much, and he has a very contentious relationship with it. Unlike Kawhi, who doesn't really seem like he cares for the media, but he doesn't have a contentious relationship.
Yeah,
he's just
quiet.
He's just weird.
Well, there was the tweet that said he's going to announce his team by updating his LinkedIn profile. That's pretty. Which sounds just exactly right.
I wouldn't mind moving to Kawhi for a second because he hasn't signed yet. And
do you want to finish on Kawhi? Because I figured it's sure. Finish.
We can finish on Kawhi.
Okay.
Jimmy Butler signs a 4-year, $142 million contract with Miami.
Feels right.
Part of a sign and trade. Sixers get Josh Richardson. There was like 4 teams in that deal. There was a ton that was going on in that deal. Jimmy Butler, I don't. I have mixed feelings about him because he seems like a bit of a locker room cancer. He seems to be a malcontent everywhere he goes.
Has he been on a good team?
That Minnesota team should have been really good, and he was just on the 76ers. He got traded to the Sixers this past year.
Why are they called 76ers?
Philadelia,
1776.
That's where the Liberty Bell is.
You should know about.
Why should I know that?
I don't know.
Am I from Philadelphia?
I feel like it's a pretty big date in America's independence.
Oh, well.
Specifically.
England was on the other end of that.
Given the rabid American I am, yeah, I should have known.
Well, England was on the other end. So.
I don't care.
You win some, you lose some.
The guy who the Nets are replacing with Kyrie, D'Angelo Russell, is now in Golden State after a sign and trade. So basically, they claimed his rights, and then when they signed Kyrie, they renounced his rights.
Sweet of him.
Yeah, 4-year, $117 million though for him to go to Golden State.
Who did the Clippers sign that was surprising? Didn't they sign?
They re-signed Patrick Beverley. I think
they re-signed. I thought Beverley was with the Rockets.
No, he's been with the Clippers for a bit. I think that he was part of the Chris Paul trade, maybe.
That makes sense.
But it was a deal that a lot of people thought he was going to the Mavericks. 3-year, $40 million contract. I mean, that's right in line with what everybody thought, and the Mavericks could have easily matched that or gone ahead. It sounds like it was more of like a lifestyle thing. I like the signing of J.J. Redick to New Orleans to give them some veteran leadership on the team. As much as I hated J.J. Redick in college, he's turned into a pretty damn good NBA player.
Do you think that New Orleans team, even though they're young, do you think they win the East if they're in the East?
No.
The 76ers are there.
Sixers are there. The Bucks are there.
Do you think they finish third if Kawhi didn't go to the Raptors?
Oh, the Raptors team is still kind of nice, but we'll see what happens with them. Who else is in the Indiana? I don't know how they match up with Indiana.
If that New Orleans core stays and develops as you expect it to, maybe.
Aren't they called the Pelicans?
The Pelicans.
See, they have no rights to win anything being called Pelicans. That's got to be all
That's rich coming from the guy cheering on the
Seagulls.
Yeah, but Pelicans are just trash.
The Seagulls are rats with wings.
Yeah, but then pigeons are rats with wings.
Seagulls are rats with wings that like water.
They're swimming rats that
They're
blow
water
up
rats.
with Alka. Pelicans, I've never seen a pelican blow up from an Alka-Seltzer, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'd love to see a fight between a seagull and a pelican.
Seagull would eat its ass. Wow, that's a weird thing to say.
The pelican would
Got
probably
very
kick the
sexual,
seagull's
very-
ass.
Pelican would stomp the seagull.
You reckon?
Yes.
The seagull
It
would
would-
fit in the pelican's beak.
Yeah, but the pelican's got to get it first.
Seagulls come to whatever you put in your hand. The seagull would just have to sit there, wave a little fish that's in its fucking gullet, and the fucking seagull would
It
dive
would be
in.
like the mountain and the... What's his name? The viper.
Striking vipers?
The hound?
No, Viper had his head crushed. In Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Alright, I'll draw the line here, because Game of Thrones, we're not getting there. I've had it. Good riddance, Game of Thrones. Alright, so as of this recording, July 3rd, Kawhi hasn't decided, but I think it's pretty clear that it's either Lakers or Raptors to this point, right? That's the only players that I've heard.
I think the Clippers are still in it.
Do you really think the Clippers have a chance?
Yeah.
Who's he at now?
He was with the Raptors.
He was
Oh,
with the
so he
Raptors.
may just sign back with the Raptors.
He may just sign back.
They just won that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, like, does he want to make himself a legend?
He's so weird, man. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on with Kawhi
He's
Leonard.
the weirdest cat out there.
How
And
so? Does he believe the Earth's just a hologram?
is there an equivalent? I'm trying to think of an equivalent in any other sport.
He's just...
He's that much of a nutter that you can't even pick a single...
Well, I mean, he's just so matter of a fact and just like laid back and chill.
I got an. All right, here it is. So you know how Germany as an international football team
I'm worried.
is
Where we're going.
as Germany. No, God, as Germany is an international football team, they're known as what? Like a machine, right?
Yeah, an efficient
An efficient machine.
machine.
If that was a personality,
That's
it's
Kawhi
probably
Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard.
So he's just
He's a droid.
German.
He really is a droid. He's basically a German. Yeah.
He's a German caricature.
Yeah, he's insanely good. He's won championships in 2 different cities now. Albeit this was the first
Oh,
one
who
where
was
he
he
was
at
the
first?
guy.
He was with San Antonio. So this is where it gets weird. San Antonio, he was...
Known for
Spurs.
succeeding with droids, by the way.
Yes. They are an extremely efficient team. In fact, they were the most boring team in the world to watch in the mid-2000s, even though because they just beat you with fundamentals. It would be like pick and roll for a layup.
They
Mid-range jump shot.
Sounds like the sort of thing Jose Mourinho would wank off to.
But they're extremely good. And they drafted Kawhi Leonard, and he won a championship with them. And their coach is known as probably the best coach in the NBA. He's extremely free
He is
thinker.
I think he's the best.
The first one
might not
to
be.
hire a woman as an assistant coach. Like, I mean, he's very out of the box thinking. You think they'd be perfect for such a weird dude like Kawhi? Kawhi gets sideways with them a couple of years, like last year, gets hurt and never comes back.
Like, just never shows up.
And he just said he's rehabbing. That's what he said, but he was. It was just weird. So then they traded him to Toronto. He said at the starting of the season, "I'm not playing," because nobody thought that he was even going to play for them because he didn't want to go to Toronto. And then he shows up, and then they go on and win the NBA championship because he's a badass and they had good pieces around him. So now it's like, does he want to go back? Maybe. He's a legend up there. And he kind of likes being the guy, but he's very quiet. Apparently he talks really weird trash during games, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Like,
And Toronto media is not all on his shit either. Like, I mean, they might be after the championship, but like they're not like American media or like in Dallas. Dallas for a bad example because it's football town, but in New York, the Knicks are talked about all the goddamn time, no matter how good or bad they are.
I get what you mean.
If he goes to LA for the Lakers, he's going to get talked about all the time. But he's not going to be the number one man on that team. It's going to be LeBron, and it's going to be LeBron's, Anthony Davis, who is LeBron's client, which is so stupid. I hate that.
He's his agent.
LeBron James' company, like, agency that he started with Rich Paul. Rich Paul is his agent. It seems so tampering and so.
All right, I take back the strong unions thing. This
is absolutely bullshit. I heard them talking about it on the ticket. So they got Anthony Davis to waive his $4 million fee for being traded. Mm-hmm. All that they have to do is fucking Venmo it to him afterwards. LeBron offered him a part in Space Jam 2. So it's so skeezy.
I'd sign for him too.
It's skeezy. But if Kawhi goes there, I think he's the number 2 or number 3 player on that team. Not talent wise, but personality wise, and I don't know how much he'd like that. Because it seems like he likes to be the guy that they go to. LeBron's going to want the ball in his hands there. If he goes to the Clippers, he gets to be home back in the LA area, but he's going to be the guy.
Give me percentages on their chance of winning their respective conference. If he signs the Raptors, chance that the Raptors win the East.
I think it's a 66% chance.
66%. If he goes to the Lakers, his chance of winning the West. With LeBron, Anthony Davis, and himself.
And Kyle Kuzma. And then the carcass of J.R. Smith or something like that, because they'll just sign a bunch of clowns.
So send it in to JJ. I feel like JJ Redick would have fit in.
I don't want him there. The West is so much better. See, and I don't know how the personalities and mix between LeBron
they love each other.
They love each other?
Yeah.
Oh, God, 80%.
80%?
I think so.
80% if they love each other. So Clippers. And everyone loves each other.
I think they probably have the worst chance of winning their
20%? What's 1 and 8? 1/8 of 100?
16%? No. I'm going to go with 45%.
45%.
I think Kawhi's that big of a game changer. And the Clippers were good without him last year.
Because he's going to probably neutralize Steph whenever they play Golden State.
Yeah, Patrick Beverley's on that team too, and he plays lockdown defense.
So he can do it too.
Yeah. And Golden State's not the issue. It's the Denvers of the world. It's the Portlands. The Utah is looking real good with Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and Bogdanovich now. That's a statement.
That's going to be a fun game.
Yeah.
A fun team.
That's a statement. But it's the Denvers of the world. Oklahoma City is still there. They've got Paul George. They've got Russell Westbrook. We don't know what the fuck the Rockets are going to do. We'll see how Chris Paul and James Harden get to work together. But, I mean, they still have Clint Capella. They still have P.J. Tucker. They still have Eric Gordon. They got guys. There's a lot of competition.
Where's Birdman at nowadays?
Meth Lab.
So percentage chance of him winning either conference
0.
He could blow things up though.
But you had those 3 stars in LA. If they have a good relationship, it's going to be tough to beat them.
Yeah.
I don't know who runs the point. Probably LeBron brings the ball up the court.
He did that a lot with Miami even. With Bosh and Wade.
Yeah.
And then Wade running around and doing his thing.
And Kawhi could run around and do his thing, and AD could spot up and post up.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Kuzma. Nobody talks about him. He's fucking good.
So many goddamn alley-oops. All day.
I want the Lakers to do that. Now, if he goes to the Clippers, though, I think it helps out the Mavs because I think that they'd have to move some cap, and they might have to move Danilo Gallinari. And Gallinari's money matches up well with the Mavs.
That'd be a nice sell. I'll take Gallinari. Yeah. He's a shooter.
Another European.
Yeah, another European, white. Fits right in for Dallas.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we end this episode?
No.
It doesn't have to be the NBA. Anything.
Oh, NBA? No, it doesn't have to be NBA.
What are we doing for 4th of July? Any plans?
Nothing. It's going to be wonderful.
Josh, any plans?
Spider-Man.
You said you were going to kneel for the anthem all day, didn't you?
I don't plan on hearing the anthem.
Anytime you hear
They're going to play it before Spider-Man. Because it's the 4th of July.
But I've been around the anthem a few times, and I just chill out and just let you enjoy your moment.
In a power ranking of national anthems,
Yes.
God Save the Queen above or below America's national anthem?
That's tough.
Is it? Because I think, I don't think America's.
I don't think
top tier at
Americans
all.
is that as good as God
Because the
Save the
US
Queen.
still
I'll take
has...
Canada over. I'll take Canada over.
Well, that is God Save the Queen.
I was gonna
with
say
different
that.
lyrics.
Yeah, it's the remix.
The US still has a moment where you can proper blast out some tune, and God Save the Queen also has it. Probably the UK is above it based on it's not as long.
That's
Because it needs to also be short and snappy, and the US this is not short and snappy.
Is it
or,
probably
goes
harder?
on
It's harder to
forever.
botch too, right? Because there's not as many words.
It doesn't.
Right.
And the vocal range doesn't go.
You can have someone put themselves over when they're singing it and trying to hit all the notes.
Yeah, they're just trying to make it themselves famous.
over singing everything.
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a part 2 of our special conspiracy episode. We'll have Bobby in the house.
You did not see that coming.
You did not see it coming, or you did. I guess
It was just a Nazi joke.
Oh,
You did not see that coming.
Bobby's going to come in here and talk Nazis. We'll see you then.